Hello and welcome to Miranda Made. This video has been a long time coming and it's been quite delayed because life got so busy. This project was much more intensive than the last several I've done, but I hope you're really going to enjoy it. It's this button-up shirt that I'm wearing right now. The fit is absolutely phenomenal. I hope you're gonna enjoy it. Please take a moment, like and subscribe if you're new here. Please put something in the comments you'd like to see in the future, or better yet, put a sewing project you yourself are working on, because I want to make this a community-oriented space. All right, let's get into the video. As the days get cooler, it's always wonderful to enjoy a cup of tea, and what better with candlelight to give it just a romantic atmosphere. Who says you can't make ordinary things more pleasurable? So today I'm having lavender tea, and I wanted to sew this Simplicity Vintage Pattern 2195 that, although it doesn't have a date on it, it seems to be from the 50s or 60s. I did look it up online, but it's not certain, the date, since it doesn't seem printed on here. This is the pattern, and we're starting with the embroidery. I've always wanted an embroidered blouse, and now that's finally happening. So it took me a couple tries, but I finally figured out I could use a marker and the light to trace on my letters and embroider them with the stitch they taught, and then I just decided to put it on with the pocket. So here we go. We have it all nice and prepped, which was easy enough to do. So it can be placed directly onto the blouse piece after being cut out. It's going to be a very small pocket, not necessarily for functionality, more as for decorative detail. So here's the blouse block pattern that I traced onto my fabric, and I want to go ahead and put the darts in before I add the pocket. So I marked the darts with a water-soluble pen, and I just pinned them down really well before taking them over to the machine. I think making darts, this is a skill I have finally mastered. In the beginning it was quite frustrating, but there's just a few tricks here and there that make it very simple and easy to do. If you'd like a techniques video, you can always put that in the comments, and I will definitely try to make that in the future. Making good darts are just so critical to making your clothing fit well. So I'd love to do a video on that if that's something you're interested in. Following that, I went ahead and put on the pockets. So there were darts along the breast line as well as the waistline to make this a nice fitted blouse. And so I pinned it into place before, of course, stitching it on. All right, so here are my two pattern pieces. As you can see, the left side will have the pocket. And of course, I did stay stitching all over this garment. And here's the back piece with the darts in the back to also help with the waistline definition. You don't find this in modern clothing. People don't take the time to put darts in. So now I'm attaching the yoke and the back facing, which after you do it the first time it is hard, but this is my second button-up shirt, so this time it wasn't that difficult. Pins, pins, and more pins. Then I took it to the machine. I stitched on the yoke and the facing, and then of course I stitched the shoulders on the front to the back. That way your shirt is starting to come together. And I did overlock stitching to finish all of my seams with my sewing machine, since I don't have a serger. And here, this is what the overall look so far is. Okay, so the next part is going to be adding the facings and of course the collar, which needed interfacing. So this is a totally different interfacing that I'm using this time. And this is basically, this white material is a cloth interfacing, which is fusible, but it's not so papery, it's quite flexible. And I did a sample to make sure it would really do well, and it did. It did perfectly well. I was quite pleased with it. Although I tend to prefer sewable interfacing, this one actually did just fine. So I went ahead and interfaced my facings as well as the collar pieces, and then I stitched on the collar, and of course I will stitch on the facings next, and as you can see, it looks quite beautiful. And I pressed it open. Alright, and I'm just showing you the back too, so you can see how nicely it came out. I was very happy. Okay, and then I attached the collar, and so the facings, as you can see, the facing for some reason came out a bit wider, so of course that'll need to be adjusted. Alright, let's put it together. So here we have everything pinned in place. Pins are your friends. They're your best friends in sewing. And you can see this is the inside of the shirt. So you can really see how I finished all the seams. Everything's looking really good. And I actually took quite a lengthy break after this part because I just simply got very busy. And sewing always requires a great deal of planning, a great deal of time, and a great deal of mental acuity. So if I'm very tired, I cannot sew that day. So anyway, after an elongated break, I was able to go back and stitch in place where I had pinned the collar and the facings on. Okay, so now let's take a look at the pattern here. This is how I'm going to be attaching the sleeves to the shirt, and it's instead of easing them in, I am going to ease them in, but I'm pinning them with the sides still open. So it's a bit different, but as you can see here in the instructions, this is exactly what I did. And after that, I moved on to the sleeves. I was going to add cuffs, and then I decided just to go with the short sleeves because it was just so much easier. And basically I decided, okay, I'm going to finish the edge by folding it over twice, and this is I'm on the outside of the garment. So I'm folding it up because it's going to end up being where the sleeves are rolled up, and you don't want to see any seam finishes on the inside. So I'm going to hide that by doing it this way. After I finish the edges, I'm going to tuck it up and sew it up next to the armhole sleeve, and so I can fold it over just like I'm showing you here, and it'll look really neat and nice, and you're not going to see any finishes. It's just going to look very smooth and great. So it was quite tricky, but that was the plan, the practice. So I just started with, of course, pressing down 2 times so that I can stitch this in place, and the seam will be perfectly finished. So here it is. You can see it's sewn. I guess I could wear it like this. It's not very common, but still doable. Okay, and then so I'm still on the outside of the garment. Now I'm going to tuck up. I'm going to pull it through and fold it up and attach it with just a few stitches to the seam line to keep it up out of the way so that I can fold up the sleeve on the outside. So you can see here exactly what's going on. This is my first time doing a shirt like this, but I thought it worked out really well. The previous shirt I made with cuffs, so that's a totally different skill than this, but I like this method because I can wear this shirt comfortably in spring, summer, fall, even winter, of course, layered with sweaters. Okay, so I'm double checking here basically. But this part here, I'm just going to stitch in place to hold it up in the shirt. Okay, so it doesn't take much. I just actually sew it by hand Okay, and then after it's sewn by hand, you can see here how I've just rolled it on the outside, and it looks very neat and tidy. You don't see any kind of seam lines or anything. And the sleeves are finished. Now all I need to do is put on the buttons and of course hem the bottom. So let's get those buttons figured out. I ended up going with these gold colored buttons. Now I only had 4, but this shirt is also intended to be tucked. You could wear it untucked, but typically it's going to be wear tucked into a high-waisted pant or high-waisted skirt, which most likely I will do a skirt. So I spaced out these gold buttons about 4 inches apart, which I wasn't sure about because I thought, what if I get gaps? But the garment was loose enough that I have no gaps, so it's very comfortable and workable and breathable. I can really move my shoulders about in it, and I don't have to worry about any gapping. You won't see anything underneath the shirt. So I used my little ruler here. There is a wonderful tool you can buy to help you with this process, but I don't have one. So I just used my ruler, marked all the buttons, took it to the machine, sewed the buttonholes and sewed on the buttons, and it came out really nice, as you can see here. The only thing left to do is hem the bottom of it. So I'm quite happy with it. And yeah, I hope you like this. I'm going to hem the bottom of it, and then I'll show you how it looks on me.
As always, thank you so much for watching. Your support means everything to this channel. Please, if you haven't, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like, leave a comment. I read every single one of them. And have a wonderful day. See you next time.